Hello everybody, my name is Oksana and today is another video about perspective. Somebody asked me an interesting question: how to draw perspective from imagination and in a way that whatever we draw would be big, like would take the entire page, that it would be so big that we do not have room for vanishing points. They're far outside of the paper. And even more, our horizon line doesn't fit on a paper. But we still want to have a precise drawing. Today I will make a case when horizon line is very high above and it doesn't fit on a paper. I start with drawing two parallel lines, one on the bottom of the page, another is on top of the page. Then I mark the same segments. I use centimeters in this case, but you're welcome to take inches. If you use centimeters, on a lower line on the bottom, my segments are 3 centimeters long, and on top 1 centimeter long. If you want to use inches, I would recommend make like on the bottom 1.5 inches and on top 1 inch. As a matter of fact, in inches you may will have a better drawing because it will be a little bit bigger squares. Now, as you can see, I connect the dots accordingly. I have a 0, which I drew first. 0 line, it is of course the beginning to count perspective on the left and right. It is the only line that will not have any perspective. This line also represents a line of vision. It is direction where a person looks. So now we need to square this up. We need a grid. And how do I think about the grid? So if we will take this distance right here, 1 square, and I mark it right here, I will have a perfect square without any perspective. But when we view this square in a perspective, then the sides that go in towards horizon are receding, which means they have to be shorter than original size. That is why I marked that point a little bit lower. It is your choice where to mark it. You can mark it as a half measurement or a little higher. I decided to make it somewhat higher, so my first squares would be larger size. When we draw into the distance, into perspective, the picture can become very small very quick, and I want to keep it large enough. So after that, as you saw, I drew a diagonal of that first square, and I continued it all the way to the last line. Now I have intersection of this diagonal with every perspective line. And as you can see, I'll just now draw parallel lines through those points. And here we go. We have our 1 point perspective grid when we look at our object from above. If we are planning to draw anything from imagination, of course we have to imagine what we draw. It's obvious. So here we go. My imaginary structure. This is view from top. I divided it into squares and I ended up with 6 by 4 squares. The second drawing, it is a side view. And let's say we have some kind of gate or some kind of path that has like a round shape or oval shape. So let's say in the corners we have some kind of structure. I'll mark it on a top view and I'm showing it on a side view. Then we need to decide the location of observer or painter. from what angle we look at it, and let's say it is right here. So we are looking in a corner, and by itself it already means that the drawing should be done in 2-point perspective. I will show you now how to use 1-point grid to make drawings in 2-point perspective. At first we need to choose a ground point, and best if that point is somewhere on intersection, so we don't start drawing from the middle of the square. So I chose my point there on the bottom, it's like 2 squares up, and now I am counting measurements. 6 squares on the left side and 4 squares on the right side. So what we have, the diagonal becomes a line that shows the base of the structure. What had happened here on the right side, I didn't have enough squares in my grid, so I had to add one more line and continue the diagonal to be sure that I have enough measurements. Now on the left side I mark important points, which is 2 squares before the arch, then 2 squares for the arch and 2 squares after the arch. Then I am drawing a vertical line which gives me a corner where 2 walls are connected. And this line I divide with 3 measurements because I decided that the base will be 3 squares or 3 measurements tall. I will try to explain now exactly how I mark. So right here, this distance, it is horizontal line parallel to horizon, and these lines do not have convergent perspective. They become shorter, but they do not converge into the point. Here again, I am measuring this line, and now exactly these measurements I mark on a wall. This way I know exactly how tall is the wall. Connecting the dots that we have for now, and we need to draw the back wall. Actually 2 back walls and 1 back corner. At first we need to create the bottom layer, the floor, and for that I will use diagonals. So I have my squares, all I need just to make a diagonals. And here we go, the point where this corner begins, raising the line. And now, again, I need to measure the distance right here, where the little square would be. I'm using the compass. And here we go, my 3 measurements. And now I just need to connect the rest of the dots. And I have sort of like a box built in 2-point perspective, and this is very interesting technique because we actually used 1-point grid to build 2-point perspective. Alright, now I am going to draw the arch. At first I raised sides of the arch, and the arch is 2 squares tall. It's exactly what I have. How do I know that it's 2 squares tall? Because I have the measurements on the side walls. The wall is basically 3 measurements. All I did just connected the 2 dots on the back and front side of the wall. And this is how I got the height of the arch. The curve of the arch begins at 1 square, so 1 measurement. And I see that I used the compass to measure the distance. There was no need for that because I actually already had it marked again on the sides of the walls of the corners. All I needed just connect those dots. To draw arch more precise, I need to draw what we call a circle grid. Basically all these lines, which helps to draw a circle or some kind of oval shape, arch shape, which is all the same basically. Now I draw arch itself by hand, and then I'll fix it up a little bit. I need to draw couple vertical lines that go through the same intersection where all the lines basically connect. And then I am looking for the intersection of this new vertical line in the arch and my arch on one side. And I usually choose the side that visually looks already good. So in this case it was left side. Then I see where that point will be on the right side. And this what helps to create a good looking arch that looks believable. It is actually one of the most difficult exercise to draw arches. I drew the deepness of the tunnel, which already looking great, except I made a mistake there. That line that showed deepness of the tunnel have to be a diagonal of the square. I don't know why I drew it a little bit off. I hope you see what I'm talking about. Because I am drawing with the ballpoint pen, I don't want to make dirt in here. I don't want to try to erase or cross it out, and I leave it the way it is. I am pretty much sure if I would not talk about it, nobody would notice. Next, I am creating lines and measurements that will help me to draw the towers on top. In each corner I have a tower with a little roof, and on a side drawing, the small side drawing, you can see that that tower is basically a cube, one square on the bottom and one square tall, and then we have our roofs that are one square tall too, and it is type of roof that has 4 corners. At first, of course, I drew all those lines that will show me exactly where the tower is located and exact size of those towers. Now I am raising vertical lines, and I need to create a cube with that base. So I already have all the measurements. Like if we're talking about backside, you see like this distance, that will be measurement of the height of this cube, of this tower, plus an extra measurement on top for the roof. Let's connect the top dots to actually create one side of this tower. I'm using pencils just in case if I'll make a mistake. Couple finishing lines, and here we go. We have one side of the front tower and one side of the back tower, making all the lines more obvious. Probably better to use ruler, so it would kind of match the style. Many people actually make architectural drawing with the ruler and then copy it through like a transfer paper or through a light box by hand purposefully, so it would look crafty. It would look like a hand drawing, but pretty precise, good hand drawing. And I personally don't see anything wrong with that. It's just a technique that illustrators use. I repeat the same operation, just raising sides of the cubes, then measure the distance by using measurements that I already have on the bottom of those corners, and then connect the dots, and as a result we will have 4 equal cubes, meaning 4 equal towers in each corner in 2-point perspective. The closest cube, the closest tower, of course looks bigger, and the last tower, all the way in the back corner, will look smaller. Now you can see that all these cubes are checking out. They look equal, they look correct, maybe except one cube which I'm drawing right now, like this one. It seems like the top side is narrow, and it's not a mistake. it's supposed to be like that. This drawing is from imagination. And what does it say about this cube that looks kind of narrow on top? It just means that if this drawing would be from observation, that side of the building wouldn't be in our cone of vision. We just wouldn't see it, we wouldn't draw it. Or if we would see it, it would be a side vision, that kind of blur. And in order to see it clearly, you would have to turn your head to look at it. But if you turn your head, perspective of that area where you're looking would be different. That's why sometimes in a perspective drawing, we can see that some areas they look somewhat distorted. Next, we need to draw the roof. Actually 4 roofs. I think in my case I'll draw only 2 roofs because those back 2 corners, they don't have enough space for a roof. This is very interesting exercise in itself. What we will need to draw is a pyramid, and right now I'm making all the measurements to continue the cube, basically to draw cube on top of the cube, and this will help me to create that pyramid. I need to find the center on top square, which I need to draw 2 diagonals. I get a point in the center, and now I connect that point to 3 corner points. And next I repeat the same process. In the most right corner, at first I raised all 4 sides. Now I need to find how tall those sides are. This could be done in 2 ways. One way I'm showing right now, when I just take a measurement and mark it. Or another, I could continue the side of the cube that's already exists. Basically take the top side and continue it until I get cut off of the most right tower, or most right cube. And then again I need to find the center of the top square, and now I connect the dots, and I am getting my roof finished. The construction part is finished. Now I'll just put some shading to make this picture more understandable for our eyes. And this will be the end for today. Thank you very much for your patience. I know that perspective can be very challenging. It is question of knowledge, building up your knowledge, and practice. Don't forget to give me a like if you liked this video. Goodbye and have a good day.